I'm Kane, that's Copes, and just like some of the newly formed duos around the NBA, we are trying to peak at the right time, Copes. Now, I'm the Robin, everyone totally understands that, but you are the superstar of this team, so I need you to step up today, Copes.
Wow, thanks for your that's the first time you've given me a compliment to superstar. You get that?
Now, you also know that I am a mature man, and when we aren't watching basketball on the couch, I like to sit down, relax, put a nice movie on. What's your favourite basketball movie, Copes?
Oh, you got me rolling on that one. I got a couple. Coach Carter was number one, obviously. Probably He's Got Game. That was great with Denzel and Ray Allen, you know, but
Space Jam. I know you're a big Bugs Bunny guy.
No, bro. And Hoop Dreams. When I grew up, Hoop Dreams was big, you know, the documentary. So yeah, I had some favorite. What was yours?
White Man Can't Jump. And now that brings us to our guest that we're about to bring in here, Marcus Johnson. Now, his number 8 is up in the rafters with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's now a broadcaster with that team, 5-time All-Star, All-NBA teams, College Hall of Fame.
Enforcer. I remember him playing back in the day, and he would hit you with some hard screens, trust me.
That's kind of like you, Copes, there. Yeah, that's what you were definitely known for, the real tough stuff. But the other thing is, with that resume that Marcus Johnson has got, it's any wonder that you would have some fans in high places. Let's check it out.
There's a picture of Michael Jordan in his dorm room at North Carolina. He's got an umbrella in his hand. He's got some kind of robe tied around his waist or something. But he's got my poster in the background. My poster from Adidas, which was like what goes up goes in. So Michael Jordan was a fan of mine growing up in North Carolina. I got a chance to tease him a little bit about that when he was shooting the movie Space Jam out in Los Angeles. I was doing something on the court. Doing something, dunked it a couple of times, and he was like, hey, come on, old man, you know, you don't need to be trying to dunk. That was never part of your game. I was like, well, you had my poster up in your room in college, so whatever I was doing back then, I was doing right. He was like, yeah, you got me on that. I sure did. I had your poster up. Yeah, I used to love your game back then.
Talk about one of the great claims to fame, Copes. Michael Jordan having your poster up on the wall. Marcus Johnson is a 5-time All-Star, a 3-time All-NBA player, and we're very fortunate to have some time with him today. Marcus, it's always great to catch up. Thanks for some time.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. And for me, that's one of my all-time claims to fame. And also in the documentary series, The Last Dance, I think Michael says at some point in that documentary series that he likes the Lakers and he likes Marcus Johnson. I've got that on a reel on my phone. So anytime anybody ever doubts my credentials, I play that for them. Like Michael Jordan had me on his wall at North Carolina. So it's a real compliment. It makes me feel really good to be honored by such a fantastic player, one of the greatest of all times, if not the greatest of all time. So definitely.
And I did mention some of your on-court credentials during your long NBA career, but I believe you would have crossed paths with Michael Jordan, a young Michael Jordan when he was coming into the league. Knowing what you knew about that, what were those interactions like?
Well, I didn't know it at the time, so I had no idea that he held me in such high esteem because, you know, Michael's not going to give that away at all in terms of showing any kind of respect toward his elders, let me put it that way. But there was a play against the Clippers. We played them in Los Angeles, and Michael Jordan and a teammate of mine named Derek Smith, who was a budding all-star, budding superstar. He was averaging, look it up, Kane, he was averaging 27, 28 points a game when he got hurt my second year here in Los Angeles. And he and Michael were going at it, tit for tat, bucket for bucket, dunk for dunk. Michael had a fantastic dunk. Derek came down, showed it here, went around the rim, threw it down. I mean, it's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in terms of two shooting guards going at it. There was one play when I set a blind screen on Michael Jordan out of a horn set. So I got him. He came into me and kind of gave me a little bit of an elbow in the chest, you know. So I grabbed his arm and said, hey, rookie, watch the elbow. He said, hey, bet. Watch the screen. I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, he was always a little feisty, man. But again, he did not let on at all that he had any kind of respect for me, especially as a Clipper at that stage of my career. And he showed it. He showed us the complete Michael Jordan arsenal during the course of that game.
Marcus, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and you speak about some of the older guys like John Drew, Tom McMillan, Dan Roundfield were my idols. Do you ever run into any of those older guys and see them? And because I know you had beef with them because your portfolio was hit hard. So do you ever run into any of those older guys and have a chat with them?
Yeah, I mean, like the one guy that I see at times from Atlanta, there's a couple of guys, but the one guy I hope to never see for at least another 20, 30 years is Dan Roundfield. Dan Roundfield drowned and died a few years ago. But the funny story with Dan Roundfield and I were real cool since his days in Indiana. We went on a couple of trips together overseas, and just really good guy, and just talked all the time. We were playing the Hawks in the '84 season, I believe, or so. Tough 5-game series. We beat them the first 2 in Milwaukee. They beat us the next 2 down in Atlanta. So game 4, I think it was, down in Atlanta, Don Nelson is telling us that this Hawk team is just bullying you guys. They're manhandling you. I want somebody to get out there and start a fight tonight. I need somebody that's going to get out there and actually start a fist fight. I'm paying all fines. So I'm like, normally not a fighter, but I'm like, hey, this is my opportunity. I've never really had a real fight in the NBA since I've been in the league, a couple of little dust-ups, but no real fight. So I'm like, I'm going to get in a fight this game. The Hawks, forget that. I'm going to get in a fight. Dominique Wilkins had dunked on everybody on our team in that series. Everybody. Except for me, because I was guarding. He'd blow by me. I'd be, help. And he'd dunk on Bob Lanier. He'd dunk on Alton Lister. So I'm going to get in a fight. So we're running down the court. Me and Roundfield are jostling for position inside. We're good buddies, but we're fighting. We're playing intense. And so we're jostling. He maybe elbows me or something. He sprints down the floor. I chase him down, and his back is turned to me, and I just shove him as hard as I can in his back. Dan turns around. Dan's about 6'8", 6'9", about 235 chisel. He turns around. He's got his dukes up. He turns around. He sees me. He says, Marcus, come on, man. I thought we was cool. I'm like, yeah, we are. Yeah, Dan, we are. My bad, man. I'm sorry, man. My bad. We cool, man. My bad. And we went on. But so that was my one opportunity to get into a fist fight with Dan Roundfield, who probably would have kicked my ass. Wow. Now that I think about it. But it never materialized because he was like, Marcus, man, I thought we was cool, man. Come on, man. I was like, that's funny. Yeah, man, we are. My bad, man. I'm sorry, man. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that, man. So yeah, but that was some great days. I see Dominique all the time. We kind of rehash the old days in terms of what he was like as a young player, freak of nature type guy. And so it's been Wes Matthews. Our Wes Matthews' his dad was an Atlanta Hawk for a number of years, so we're still close and kind of keep in contact when we see each other. It's always good. So yeah, I do run into some of the old Hawks from time to time.
Good.
Now, if we come back to the current day, you're still on the Bucks broadcast, and you've seen Giannis throughout his development and throughout his career. Now, we're always talking about the stats and the big inflated numbers this year. We saw Giannis the other day get a rebound or miss his own shot intentionally to get a 10th rebound and get a triple-double. Now, this was rescinded. This, to me, was the perfect example of how stats are being potentially padded. What did you think of that unique scenario?
Hated it. Didn't like it at all. I think I said something on Twitter. Yeah, let's not do that again. And it's funny. My partner Lisa Byington, one of the best in the business, I think she at the end said, "Oh, I love it." And I sent her a text and said, "Look, I can't leave you out of my sight for 5 minutes and see what you're doing." But here's why I didn't like it, because Giannis speaks so eloquently all the time about playing the game the right way, developing good habits, and that is anathema to who he is as a person, as a ball player, to pull a cheap stunt like that. Let me put it that way. You're not Ricky Davis. You're not, Michael Cage, Charles Oakley going for the rebounding championship in the late 80s or whatever that was. That they went through it and they were just kind of throwing the ball off the backboard for him. I mean, you're Giannis. You're going to have ample opportunity to get many, many more triple doubles. There's no need to do anything to lessen who you are. Yeah. And Giannis has always been someone, and still, I have the utmost of respect for him. This does nothing to diminish that. And I know Giannis, even this was done it was funny the way he did it, throw it off the bottom of the backboard and kind of look around, just, do I get a rebound or what? So, but one good story about Giannis that you guys appreciate. We're coming down the elevator, Kane, in New York. Excuse me, in Atlanta. We just played the New York Knicks the night before. We got a day off between the game against Atlanta. And so we're coming down the elevator, just me and him in the elevator. And so Giannis had a good game, but not a great game, 22 points or so. And we won the game because everybody else played well. So we're coming down the elevator, just me and Giannis. We got a good relationship. And so I turn to Giannis and I say, "Hey, man, isn't it nice that you don't have to score 50 for us to win a ball game?" It's just me and Giannis. Dead silence. Crickets. Nothing. So I turn around just to see he's got his earbuds in. Maybe he's listening to something else and he doesn't hear me. I turn around, no earbuds, but he's got this kind of look off into space expression on his face. Still says nothing. And so it's a little awkward moment. So I get off the elevator, and just as I am about to exit the elevator, I get a tap on my shoulder. So I turn around, and Giannis says, "Can I be honest with you?" I was like, "Yeah, young fella, please be honest. I love scoring 50. And I love seeing you score 50, big fella. As a matter of fact, you're going to have yourself a 60-point before this season's over. I'm putting it out there. He's like, I receive it. 60 points, I receive it.
Ja Morant has been in the news all this week for some unfortunate reasons, and now he's going to be taking some time away from the game. You've been around the NBA for a very, very long time. You understand about having a sharp rise to superstardom as a younger player. How have you viewed this from a distance and what you've seen with Ja Morant?
Yeah, I'm. What's the word that I can come up with? I'm concerned. That's it. I'm concerned. I'm not, disappointed. Sure, you would like for a young man to use better judgment, but look, I've been there. I've done that. I've had my issues with substance abuse and other issues in my personal life. When you're that young, you don't always make the best of choices. Mm-hmm. So, I get that. But for me, in terms of all the gunplay and the negative ramifications of it that's in the news nowadays, the past few years, to me, it's like it's a concern for his safety, for his life, because if people know you're packing, then I think that amps up the chances of you getting harmed in a situation that you don't need to be in. And as I think Kendrick Perkins, I forgot who it was, but just stop trying to be about that life. Be about being the greatest basketball player that you could possibly be. Look, I know what it feels like to not take care of myself like I could have taken care of myself. I was a nightlife type of a dude. I ain't gonna avoid it. I ain't gonna run away from it. That's who I was. But I like to say, Kane, that back in those days, I respected the game more than I respected myself. I loved the game more than I loved myself. I mean, when I prepped to play on game days, I prepped to play on great game days. Now, that game night after the game, it was a totally different story. But that's a whole nother interview. But with Ja Morant, I just want him to get and seek whatever it is he needs.
Marcus, it's been a treat to hang out with you and ask you some of the old and new stuff around basketball. It's always a pleasure, and we really appreciate your time tonight.
Anytime, man. Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus.
Copes, one of the great storytellers. You honestly could interview that man for about 90 minutes, but what we ended on there, the topic of Ja Morant, he's someone that we've praised all season long for obvious reasons, one of the high flyers, young superstars in the league. How have you viewed the last few weeks?
Well, look, again, like he said, we are concerned for Ja. Look, he came into the league as a young man, 19 years old, with all this money, all this fame now, and all these yes men around him telling him what he wanted to hear. He needs a strong personality around him to say, look, Ja, you got to calm down. You're going to blow your future. You're going to blow your family's future if you don't step it up and do the right thing. And it's a concern. And I said this on our show a couple of weeks ago. He's this flat-out superstar, but he can get too big too early. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying sometimes when the NBA bring you in at such an early age, you don't have time to mature.
How did you handle it? Well,
I was old enough. I went to college for 4 years. I had older brothers and sisters that would smack me upside the head if I did anything wrong. And I'm grateful for it.
All right, smooth transition now from Ja Morant to chapstick. Did you ever need chapstick on the
How'd you go from Ja Morant to chapstick? What do you mean?
I know you're a man that likes to look after your appearance for good reason.
That's right. If you look good, you play good. And I new shoes, got my hair done, put the chapstick. I don't know about the chapstick, bro. Are my lips dry?
Yeah, they are a little bit. But first, let's go to Donovan Mitchell and hear his thoughts on chapstick.
I'm on camera somewhere. I got the mic on.
Okay, I have something for you.
Yes. Give me chapstick. This one. Nah, it's all right. Your lipstick is on it. Nah, it's all good. Don't show my lips. Oh, ESPN. Mom thinks they're chapped. You got it, Love you, Mama.
Love you, man. Have fun.
Connect it. Go double X right there. We get the switch. We got ISO. We've ISO'd a bunch right now. So get the switch and still put Ev in the pick and roll. Keep going. You good. Take it out. Go right here. Stay here. Jay, go long. Just have Ev here. We'll scramble. Have Ev right here. I take it out. We figure it out.
How are you?
Good to see you. You see my mom's over there, right by our bench. She's not there right now. Hey! Rebound here. Get in. He gonna miss this. Give me one, Rob. Hey! You gotta match their energy right now. You're playing timid. Come on, that boy. You good? No. That's crazy. I thought we were cool. I'm gonna see you after. The game started. You trying to distract me. I don't get a what up still? Hey, what's up? Oh.
Call your friends because something special is happening once again tonight. Oh, Doncic dagger! All they can do is ooh and ah. Hear the echo of my name through the streets. Luka magic! Doncic.
Luka mania, you know.
Cold-blooded. I won't stop till I make it to the summit. He has got it, took it again. The legend of Luka continuing to be written.
There's been 9 games since Kyrie Irving joined the Dallas Mavericks, and his stats have been as advertised. And perhaps the Dallas offense has been as advertised, 3rd in the league, but they are 29th in defense. Copes, is it going to work?
Look, I was skeptical at first, and I said, there's no way this is going to work, but they seem to be fitting in quite well together. One guy scores, the next guy scores, they pass the ball quite well. But again, they're going to struggle because neither one of those guys can stop anybody. My grandmother could score on Kyrie.
They can't. They beat the Philadelphia 76ers earlier this week. Kyrie and Luka became the first Dallas Mavericks pairing ever to each score 40-plus points. They scored 133 as a team, but Philadelphia put up 126. This is the NBA in 2023, though, Cope.
No one plays defense. You're not allowed to hit anybody. You can't hand check. Imagine Michael Jordan playing in this league today. He'd average 75.
So I don't think that this can hold up in a best-of-7 series because of the lack of defense. But right as it currently stands, they are in the mix for the play-in tournament, Copes. And if they get a team in a one-off game, you would be scared about facing this duo of Kyrie and Luka.
Absolutely, because they can both score the rock, and they're scoring at a high percentage, which is great. They're not turning the ball over. They both, do the right thing when it comes to passing the ball and finding the open teammate. But you cannot stop either one of these guys. And to have that two-guard tandem is tougher than anybody in the league.
Well, one of the other newly formed duos we see in the league, Kevin Durant, just returned to the court, the Phoenix Suns. He's going to be playing alongside Devin Booker. They have instantly rocketed to be one of the favorites in the entire NBA. And no surprise to anyone, Kevin Durant has played 3 games for the Phoenix Suns. He's putting up 28 a night, 55% from 3, Copes.
Another team with 2 great shooters. These guys can shoot from anywhere. The problem with the Phoenix Suns is the point guard position. The old man in the point guard position. He's known to get hurt. If they make it past the first or second round, is he going to be there?
We did go through this stretch with these super teams where there was big trios, and it feels now that we are back in the stage of duos. And if we go out east, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, it was only a season ago, Copes, that we were talking about splitting them up. There was all these reports about trouble. Did they make the right decision to keep these guys together?
They made the right decision. Remember, it was all individual basketball. And Marcus Smart said, wait a minute, we got to have a chat here. He called them all in. They had a chat. They sat down. I think they ended up winning 6 or 7 games in a row. They got their stuff together, and they're both quality players. They rebound the ball well. They pass the ball well, and obviously they can score. But then they got help. Marcus Smart's back now. They got Williams playing well. They got guys coming off the bench. So I'm looking forward to them beating your team, Milwaukee.
I don't have a team, Copes. I'm an unbiased media reporter, no doubt about that. But they are looking to go one step further this season. So let's learn a little bit more about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
There's been a contingent of people that have talked about breaking you guys up, trading one of you.
I couldn't imagine why you wouldn't want to have 2 of the best players on your team.
Jaylen Brown with the finish.
There's not a lot of guys in the NBA like JB.
Tatum on the cut, takes it all the way and slams it. Wow.
We've won way more games together than we've lost. We're both still very far from our prime.
Well, the Celtics have been scuffling a little bit, and part of the problem is They can't get over these New York Knicks. The Knicks have beaten them 3 times
They're
over the course of the
rolling. The
last
Knicks are
6
rolling.
weeks. The Knicks are back, Copes.
They are back. Randall is playing real basketball. I was a Randall fan when he played for the Lakers, but he just seems to be knocking that three-pointer down now. You know, they got guys coming off the bench. They've added Hart, who rebounds the ball well. They brought in help on the defensive end, and they're rolling. I think he won 12 or 14 in a row or somewhere around there. I know they're winning a lot of games.
Look, Coach, just leave the stats to me, mate. That's the way we like to operate on this show. We're not working in estimations here. We want it to be dead set accurate. They did win 9 in a row. You're exactly right. But I've been fortunate enough to be in Madison Square Garden a number of times.
You've been everywhere. You've been everywhere.
I've been in there on a Tuesday night in the dead of winter watching the Charlotte Bobcats play, and that joint is still absolutely
Can we
rocking.
talk about you being in Milwaukee on the big screen when they've won 16 in a row, and then they show you and they lose? Can we talk about that?
No, I would prefer not to talk about that, Owen, and I would prefer that did not sneak out. But Madison Square Garden in the postseason, if they get to that series and they are in the mix right now of potentially having home court advantage, we could be going back to these days, the 1999 NBA Finals, where they did lose to the San Antonio Spurs. And a good friend of ours, Andrew Gaze, might have picked up some jewelry.
There's nothing like playing in the Garden, man. That's the mecca of basketball. The fans go crazy. Win or lose, you're going to have boos, you're going to have cheers, and it's just celebrities and fights and popcorn everywhere. Love this place.
So they are in that 5-4 mix in the Eastern Conference, which, as it stands right now, it is looking like it could potentially be a series with a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, a young team on the rise. We just saw Donovan Mitchell. Could they win that series? I think they could.
I think they could. I think right now what they bring to the table is they play together. They got talent. They got a couple of scorers who can score the rock. They're playing defense, and they got confidence. When you win that many games in a row and you're doing it the right way, then you give yourself a chance.
Well, as per usual, Copes, we are talking far too much, so we're starting to run out of time. But speaking of the shot clock for this show, let's listen to Julius Randle and put him on the shot clock.
Hey everybody, welcome to 24 Seconds with me, Julius Randle.
Randle shakes on Osmond down the lane, hammers it and gets fouled.
My favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
He's my hero, I tell you.
You can make a good chicken Alfredo, you'll win me over.
The pasta must have been good at dinner tonight.
Who is the messiest guy on the team? I'm gonna go RJ probably.
Like who, me?
Just play it cool.
Oh, I love fashion. Like Deion Sanders said, you look good, you feel good, you play good.
Randle, oh, and he slams it down.
That's a wrap. I'm out.
No matter what you get up to on Saturday night, there is no better way on Sunday than to turn on ESPN, your home for hoops, and watch some NBA action, Copes. And we have got a really, really good one this Sunday. The Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry back in the lineup against the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, they're starting to get healthy. They're at the top of the East and at the moment have the NBA's best record. The Bucks and the Warriors, it could potentially be an NBA Finals preview. Do you think that the Golden State Warriors are just starting to peak at the right time, Coach?
What are you doing on Saturday night, Kane?
We already discussed this earlier in the show. I like to just take it very easy. Nice early night, cup of tea. You know this, Copes.
Read the stat books, and you're right. Okay,
exactly right.
Now, you love Milwaukee. We get this. I'm a Golden State guy. When those guys are on, they're not playing great basketball. Curry's back now. When they're shooting the ball well, and if he comes back like I think he is, Milwaukee didn't have a chance.
So when you get to these veteran teams, and both of these teams are kind of in the same boat, they've been contending for a very, very long time. Everyone wants to talk about the idea of flicking the switch, but can you actually do it? Because the Warriors have hardly been healthy all year, and neither have the Bucks, to be honest.
Well, I tell you one thing about the Warriors is they've won it 4 times, so they know how to do it, okay?
True, that's true.
If they do get healthy, like you say, that's one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. You don't want to play them going into the finals because they can shoot the ball with anybody in the league.
These two teams typically match up very, very well as well, and obviously they haven't met in the NBA Finals yet. Klay Thompson, by the way,
you don't want to meet him. You don't want to meet him.
Klay Thompson, since the start of the new year, has been well over 40% from three. He's putting up around 26, 27 points per game. So he is absolutely back to his old form, which is what we love to see.
See, my old friend Charles Barkley said, Klay's not going to be Klay anymore. He's not the same guy. Klay has proven that he's gotten over the 2 surgeries. He can knock the jump shot down. If Curry gets healthy, Draymond doing his thing, Wiggins, we got some talent. Look out, your boys are in trouble.
Yeah, they may well be, and as I said, very unbiased. And you asked what I was doing on Saturday night, and I should have told you I'm actually going to be in Auckland because we are going to Game 4 between the Sydney Kings and the New Zealand Breakers. But the question I want to ask you, we saw
What's the question,
Kings
Kane?
in Game 2. The bench players were unbelievable. What does it take when you have these bench players contributing in the playoffs?
Well, I remember playing against the Perth Wildcats, and you know, once you play a team 3 or 4 times and they get used to you, you bring in a guy like a Ray Gordon to disturb Ricky Grace and just get up in him and make him turn that ball over. It changes the whole game, and that's what the Sydney Kings have done.
So far in this series, teams have had success on the road. We know that you like to have success on the road on the weekend as well. Copes, great
Not just
show,
on the
as
weekend,
always.
not just on the weekend, all week long.